Hey there! Summer came earlier than we expected, didn't it? Again. And now we have Rondo EX and Eltrix EX. Let's see what they do. Rondo EX is a scholar, which raises ice combs from the ashes to such a height, ice became a meta for a while in GP, after the long prevalence of physical meta. Is he the same for us? Kind of, but also rainbow teams exist. But he's not useless in rainbow teams too. Anyway, as you can see, he does basically everything you could possibly think of for ice damage. Let's see his passives. Rondo has a bunch of unique status effects I've written out to the right for you, to know their full proper effect. But in the skill descriptions, I'll just write a short version for convenience. Okay, so first his potency up passive. It gives allies with HP barrier 100% potency, but strictly for ice attacks. Rondo has ways of applying the barrier, so it's good. Then follow-ups. This passive is pretty cool. It both implants an ice weakness, but also does a damage follow-up. No need to tell you how good follow-ups are. And I think they trigger even if Rondo is in the back row, so that's amazing. It's reliant on a different effect, Icy Waves. By itself, it's just a huge damage cap for ice, but it's also a very limited effect. Rondo applies it only at the start of the battle and by using his EX skill, so you need to plan when to utilize it. And here is also a huge crit multiplier, and Rondo has ways to give guaranteed crits as well. So to his active skills. His EX skill is the most important skill he has. Yes, it applies Icy Waves for 150k damage cap, but it also applies 100k damage cap for all indiscriminately, which makes him really good for elemental teams in general. Rondo also has a weakness bypass skill, which gives ice attacks huge coverage. Here is also a 6-hit and a debuff ult, all in all solid. And he also has some usual ice and magic buffs, critical scope and HP barriers. Pretty stocked. Now the more interesting discussion. Team building. It's mostly self-explanatory. Lots of ice follow-ups, all that. You could also use Zerg, but at that point just make a rainbow team. The only portion I want to return to is Rondo EX. To be honest, I misjudged this team in her vid. She gives 50k damage cap on 7 revealed weaknesses, including implants. I thought she wouldn't work here because Rondo EX eats wind implants and Rondo EX eats light and dark, so we lose a lot of implants. But no, the weakness bypass Rondo EX has is an active skill, so you can just ignore it, and against the right enemy you have a solid chance to have 7 revealed weaknesses. That is, if you don't use Rondo EX or Dark Priestess for weakness bypass, of course. So if you want a pure ice team, here is who you need for it. It is short-lived though, so on your own risk. Let's now look at the rainbow team and if Rondo EX has any place in it. And he has. This slide is also pretty much self-explanatory. You have the front, who does lots of damage and follow-ups. Rondo adds some of his as well. He has ult magic defense debuff and a huge damage cap. Just pure profit. Okay, but is there anyone to replace him? Yeah, and that's Edgar from the future Final Fantasy VI collab. He provides only 50k damage cap, but he has better overall support. I heard people calling him Signa 2.0, and he is more generally useful for both physical and magical teams. Well, Rondo mostly helps magical ones, so if you are debating whether to pick Rondo EX or Rondo EX, Rondo EX is harder to replace here, and you can't really bring both Rondo and Edgar together for more damage cap. You just won't have space in the team. All in all, while Rondo EX is cool, I'd skip him. Yes, his 100k damage cap does a lot for him, but I think of the future, the job, the kids, I mean Edgar. Edgar has less damage cap and no follow-ups, but he is also usable in both physical and magic teams. So you are not losing too much by skipping Rondo EX now. Next up, Eltrix EX. Eltrix is rather simple, will be over in a minute. She is a nice DPS who has maximum 4 hits, but quite a huge damage cap potential, if you play things right. She also has a passive which lets you hit sword, axe and bow, and no other elemental weaknesses, so one more point for Rondo EX synergy. Here are her passives. She won't have a problem hitting the damage cap, thanks to her potency multiplier making it 150%, and the same multiplier applies to the HP barrier, which is important because of her next passive. It multiplies the HP barrier value by 10 and makes the result the damage cap buff. Pretty neat. The biggest barrier she can get is 300% of her HP, since she applies a 200% one and it gets multiplied. It's not an ideal passive though, because, you know, HP barriers. They are not like HP which can get regenerated. If you let a couple of hits in, that means your barrier is smaller, and that means the damage output as well. Eltrix has an EX ability which you can use whole 5 times to restore it, but it takes a turn. The rest of the buffs. As you can see, she has no passive damage buffs, so I recommend running Cast EX with her, she gets 35%. Also, Eltrix has the 30 dose effect, which lets her hit more weaknesses and buffs some of her skills. And to those skills. Her strongest attack is a 4-hit with additional damage cap. It needs 30 dose, but it's not too difficult to get. For example, from her EX skill I mentioned. A great skill to set her up before break. Her ult is a big selfish buff, which gives her Rondo's unique potency effect. I think you can get by without it rather easily in a nice team. And here are some of her skills, take a look. All in all, you can safely skip her if you are not building a pure ice team. Even there you could replace her with Rondo EX from Dragon Quest collab. Or if you are one of those who collects limited A4s, this one is good for speed clears. But don't go for it if you are free to play, obviously. Thanks for watching.